The call from Chloe's school counselor came right as I was pulling a batch of chocolate chip cookies from the oven. Jamie's favorite after-school treat would have to wait. My hands trembled as I set down the hot baking sheet and grabbed my phone. "My name is Mallory, and that call changed everything." "Mrs. Quinn? This is Barbara Mitchell from Riverside High." Her voice carried that carefully measured tone that makes any parent's stomach drop. "We need to discuss an incident involving Chloe." I closed my eyes, bracing myself. "What kind of incident?" "We've discovered some concerning social media posts. Chloe has been targeting another student, a girl with severe anxiety issues. The messages are quite cruel." The kitchen suddenly felt too warm, too small. Through the window, I could see Jamie on his swing set, waiting for his sister to come home like always. He idolized Chloe, despite how cold she'd been to both of us lately. "How bad are we talking?" I asked, though part of me didn't want to know. "Bad enough that the other students' parents are considering legal action." Barbara paused. "They have screenshots." My mind raced to Ethan, my husband, who still saw his 16-year-old daughter as the sweet little girl who used to wear fairy wings to breakfast. He'd never believe this without proof. "I'll need to see these messages," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "And I'll talk to her father right away." "Of course. I've already emailed them to you." Another pause. "Mrs. Quinn, given Chloe's previous difficulties adjusting, perhaps the family could consider counseling." I almost laughed. 3 years of trying to get Chloe to accept me as her stepmother, and now this stranger was suggesting family therapy? But before I could respond, I heard the front door slam. "Mom, is Chloe home yet?" Jamie called out. "Just a minute, sweetie." I turned back to the phone. "Thank you for letting me know, Mrs. Mitchell. I'll handle this." But as I hung up, I caught sight of Chloe through the kitchen window, strutting up the driveway with that familiar look of disdain. She had no idea what was coming, or maybe she did and simply didn't care. Either way, this wasn't just about mean girls and social media anymore. This was about protecting both my children, the sweet 7-year-old who deserved a better role model, and the troubled teenager who seemed determined to destroy herself and anyone who tried to help her. I took a deep breath and opened my email. Whatever those screenshots revealed, I knew one thing for certain. This time, something had to change. The screenshots made my blood run cold. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at my laptop while Jamie and Chloe's voices drifted in from the living room. For once, they weren't arguing. Chloe was actually helping him with his math homework. The sound of their temporary peace made what I was reading even harder to bear. "What a pathetic little crybaby," Chloe had written. "Maybe if you weren't such a freak, your dad wouldn't have left too." There were dozens more messages, each crueler than the last. The target was Sarah Chun, whose anxiety was so severe she'd missed most of 8th grade. Now a freshman, she'd finally returned to school, only to face this. The front door opened and Ethan's footsteps approached. I quickly closed the laptop. "Hey, everything okay?" he asked, loosening his tie. "You look like you've seen a ghost." Before I could answer, Doris burst through the back door without knocking, carrying a casserole dish. "I brought dinner since I assumed you'd be too busy with your book club to cook tonight." I bit back a retort. My mother-in-law had never forgiven me for missing last month's family dinner because of a work emergency. "Actually, we need to discuss something about Chloe." "What about me?" Chloe appeared in the doorway, Jamie trailing behind her like a shadow. "Jamie, honey, why don't you go play in your room for a bit?" I suggested. But Chloe was helping me. "Now, please." As Jamie trudged upstairs, Doris settled into a chair like she was preparing for battle. "What's this about?" I opened the laptop again, turning it toward Ethan. His face darkened as he scrolled through the messages. "These can't be real," he muttered. "They're not," Chloe snapped. "Someone's obviously trying to frame me." "The school has proof they came from your accounts," I said quietly. "Of course you'd believe them over me." Chloe's voice cracked. "You've been waiting for an excuse to make me look bad." "That's not." "Well, teenagers can be cruel sometimes," Doris interrupted. "I'm sure this Sarah girl will get over it. When I was young." "This isn't about you, Mother," Ethan cut in, his voice sharp. "Chloe, we raised you better than this." "You raised me." "She didn't raise me at all." Chloe jabbed a finger at me. "And now she's trying to turn you against me, just like she did with Jamie." From upstairs came the sound of a door closing. Jamie had been listening to everything. "Nobody's turning anyone against you," I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. "But there have to be consequences." "The only consequence," Chloe said, her eyes cold, "is that now everyone will see what kind of stepmother you really are." She stormed out, leaving me with Ethan's silence and Doris's judgmental stare. but it was the quiet sound of Jamie crying upstairs that broke my heart the most. I wasn't snooping, not really. I was just gathering Chloe's laundry when her phone buzzed on her desk. The message preview caught my eye. "Miss you, baby girl. Your real mom loves you more than they ever could." My hands shook as I picked up the phone. The lock screen showed dozens of notifications from someone saved as Mom Love, all from the past month. Rebecca, the woman who'd walked out on Chloe and Ethan 8 years ago without so much as a goodbye note. The bedroom door creaked behind me. I spun around to find Chloe standing there, her face twisted with fury. "How dare you?" she hissed. "How long has she been contacting you? That's none of your business." She snatched the phone from my hand. "You had no right." "I have every right when it affects this family," I said. "Does your father know?" Chloe's laugh was bitter. "You mean, have I told him his precious new wife is a total control freak?" "Not yet. Your mother abandoned you, Chloe." She made a mistake." Chloe's voice cracked. "At least she admits it. She wants to make things right." The pieces suddenly clicked into place. Chloe's recent attitude changes, the secretive phone calls, the way she'd been pushing everyone away. "Is that what she told you? That she wants to reconnect? She loves me. She understands me. Like she understood you when she left without saying goodbye." The words came out sharper than I intended. "Better than you understand me." Chloe's eyes filled with tears. "You think just because you married my dad and had Jamie you can replace her? You can't. You never will." Heavy footsteps on the stairs made us both turn. Ethan appeared in the doorway, his face grave. I heard shouting. "What's going on?" "Ask your wife," Chloe spat. "She's been going through my private messages." "Rebecca's been contacting her," I said quietly. "For weeks." The color drained from Ethan's face. "What?" "She wants to see me," Chloe said. "And you can't stop me." "Like hell I can't." Ethan's voice shook. "After what she did." "What she did?" Chloe screamed. "What about what you did? Replacing her with the first woman who smiled at you." She shoved past us both, but not before I caught a glimpse of her screen. A new message from Rebecca. "Don't let them keep us apart. I have a plan." The silence that followed was deafening. Ethan stood frozen, staring at the space where his daughter had been. And I realized with growing dread that this wasn't just about teenage rebellion anymore. Rebecca was back, and she was playing a much more dangerous game than any of us had imagined. The kitchen table had become our war room. Ethan paced while I sat staring at printouts of Rebecca's messages to Chloe, each one more manipulative than the last. "We could try family counseling," I suggested. Ethan stopped pacing. "She won't go. Mother's already convinced her we're overreacting." Of course she had. I rubbed my temples, fighting a headache. "Your mother doesn't know what Rebecca's capable of. And you do." His tone made me look up sharply. "I've spent 3 years watching Chloe struggle because of what that woman did to her." I pushed back my chair. "While your mother spent those same years blaming me for trying to help." The doorbell rang before Ethan could respond. Through the window, I spotted Harold's truck in the driveway. Great. The whole Quinn family council was assembling. Harold entered without waiting for an invitation, his expression grim. "Doris called. Said you two are trying to keep Chloe from her mother." "Her mother abandoned her," Ethan snapped. "And now she wants to make amends." Harold's voice softened. "Sometimes people deserve second chances, son. Not people who message their teenage daughter about running away together," I said, sliding one of the printouts across the table. Harold's face darkened as he read. "Jesus Christ. There's more," I started, but Jamie's voice from the stairs cut me off. "Dad? Is Chloe coming home soon?" We all turned. Jamie stood in his pajamas, clutching the stuffed dragon Chloe had given him last Christmas. "Soon, buddy," Ethan said. "Go back to bed." But I heard her crying in her room before she left. My heart stopped. "When was this?" "After dinner. She was on the phone saying she'd meet someone tonight." Ethan was already running upstairs. I followed, my pulse pounding. Chloe's room was empty, her window open. On her desk lay a note. "Don't try to stop me. Mom's the only one who really wants me." "Call the police," Harold said from behind us. But I was already pulling up the tracking app I'd installed on Chloe's phone after the cyberbullying incident. The one she didn't know about. The dot pulsed at the bus station downtown. "I know where she is," I said, grabbing my keys. "But we have to hurry." "I'm coming with you," Ethan said. "No." I touched his arm. "Stay with Jamie. He needs one of us here." "But..." "Ethan, please. I know you don't trust my judgment about Chloe, but trust this. Rebecca won't hurt her if I'm the one who shows up. She'll want the audience." Understanding dawned in his eyes. After all, What better revenge on a stepmother than stealing her stepdaughter away? I just prayed I'd get there in time to stop her. The bus station's fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows across empty benches. Rebecca wasn't here. Neither was Chloe. The tracking app showed her phone still present, but when I found it, it was tucked behind a vending machine, deliberately left behind. My phone buzzed. "Doris, have you found her yet?" Her voice dripped with accusation. "This wouldn't have happened if you'd just." I ended the call, my hands shaking. A text from Ethan followed. "Police are here. Coming to station." But something caught my eye, a familiar barista behind the station's coffee counter. The same one who'd served Chloe and her friends countless times at the mall. "Excuse me." I approached her. "Have you seen a teenage girl, long dark hair, wearing a green hoodie?" She hesitated. "The one with the lady in the red coat? They left about 20 minutes ago." The woman said something about catching the train to Chicago. The train station was 15 minutes away. I ran to my car, tires squealing as I pulled out of the parking lot. The radio crackled with a weather warning. Severe storms approaching. Perfect. Another call from Doris. This time I answered on speaker. "Harold just told me what those messages really said," she started. "I had no idea Rebecca was planning to kidnap her own daughter." My voice sounded strange, even to me. "While you were busy blaming me for everything, did you ever stop to ask why Chloe was so angry? Why she needed to hurt people?" Silence. "Because the person who should have loved her most just walked away. And now she's back to do it again." Doris's voice cracked. "I thought I was protecting her." "No, you were punishing me. And now Chloe might pay the price." Lightning flashed ahead as I pulled into the train station parking lot. Through sheets of rain I spotted them, Chloe's green hoodie, Rebecca's red coat. They were heading for Platform 3. My phone buzzed again. "Ethan. Police tracking Rebecca's credit cards. Don't engage, wait for backup." But I could see Rebecca's hand gripping Chloe's arm too tightly, could see the fear beneath my stepdaughter's defiant expression. The same fear I'd seen in Sarah Chen's eyes when we'd discussed the cyberbullying. Sometimes hurt people. And sometimes they just need someone to stop the cycle. I stepped out into the rain, my voice carrying across the platform. "Chloe!" They both turned. In that moment, as thunder cracked overhead, I saw something shift in Chloe's eyes, recognition maybe. Or realization. Rebecca's grip tightened. "She's not yours to save." "No," I agreed, moving closer. "She has to make that choice herself." The rain pounded against the platform as Rebecca's grip on Chloe's arm tightened. Police sirens wailed in the distance, but too far away. The Chicago-bound train screamed into the station, drowning out everything except Rebecca's laugh. "You really think you can play hero?" She pulled Chloe closer. "Tell her, sweetie. Tell her about your real plans." Chloe's eyes met mine, defiant yet frightened. "I'm getting married." The world tilted sideways. "What?" "His name is Marcus. He's 28, and he understands me." Chloe's chin lifted. "Mom's going to help us be together." Rebecca's smile was pure victory. "Marcus has connections in Chicago. No one can stop them once they're married." My phone buzzed, Ethan again. I ignored it, taking a step closer. "Chloe, listen to me. Whatever she's promised you." "You don't get it," Chloe cut in. "Marcus loves me. He doesn't try to fix me or make me be nice to stupid Jamie or... He's grooming you." The words exploded out before I could stop them. "Your mother's helping a predator." Rebecca's hand cracked across my face. The sound echoed across the platform as the train doors hissed open. "You're lying," Chloe whispered, but her voice shook. "Marcus says people wouldn't understand." "Of course they say that." I touched my stinging cheek. "That's what predators always say." "Shut up." Rebecca yanked Chloe toward the train. "We're leaving." But Chloe resisted, just slightly. "Mom, you said Marcus was coming to meet us." "Change of plans." Rebecca's voice hardened. "Get on the train, Chloe." I saw it then. The moment doubt crept into Chloe's eyes. The same doubt I'd seen when she'd bullied Sarah Chun, right before the guilt hit. "He's not coming, is he?" Chloe's voice was very small. "There is no Marcus." Rebecca's face twisted. "There are plenty of Marcuses in Chicago. Better ones. Richer ones. Now get on the damn train." The police sirens were closer now. Through the rain, I saw Ethan running across the parking lot. But Rebecca saw him too. She shoved Chloe hard, sending her stumbling onto the train, then jumped on after her. "No!" I lunged forward, but the doors were already closing. The last thing I saw was Chloe's face pressed against the window, her palm flat against the glass. Not reaching for her mother, but reaching for me. The train pulled away, taking my stepdaughter into the storm with a woman who'd sell her own child to the highest bidder. And all I could do was stand there, soaked and shaking, as Ethan's footsteps pounded up behind me. "They're gone," I whispered. "I let them take her." The Chicago police found them at a rundown motel near the station. I arrived just as they were leading Rebecca away in handcuffs, her red coat now a splash of blood against the gray morning. "Where is she?" I asked the officer. He nodded toward room 115. "She won't talk to anyone." Through the open door, I saw Chloe sitting on the bed's edge, still wearing yesterday's clothes, her phone in pieces on the floor. When I stepped inside, she didn't look up. He wasn't real. Her voice was hollow. None of them were real. She was selling my photos to men online. The words hit like physical blows. I sat beside her, careful to leave space between us. Did she? I couldn't finish the question. No, but she was going to. Chloe's hands twisted in her lap. "There was a buyer coming tonight. She said he'd take care of me better than you or Dad ever could." A sob caught in her throat. I reached for her, but she flinched away. I should have known. Just like I should have known better than to hurt Sarah Chun. She finally looked at me, eyes red-rimmed. "Why didn't I know better?" "Because she's your mother." I kept my voice gentle. "We want to believe the people who should love us most." "She never loved me." Chloe's laugh was bitter. But I kept trying to prove I was worth loving. Even if it meant hurting other people. Even if it meant hurting Jamie. "Chloe." I saw his face when I left. The words tumbled out. He was crying, wasn't he? Because his big sister abandoned him, just like... She broke off, shoulders shaking. This time when I reached for her, she didn't pull away. She collapsed against me, years of pain finally breaking free. "I'm sorry," she whispered against my shoulder. "I'm so sorry." Through the window, I could see Ethan talking to the officers, his face drawn with worry. Beyond him, the first hints of sunrise painted the sky pink. The same color as the walls we'd painted Chloe's nursery together when I first moved in, before resentment and fear had poisoned everything. "We can't go back," I said softly. "But we can go forward. Together." Chloe pulled back, wiping her eyes. "How?" "After everything I've done. The same way Sarah Chun went back to school after everything that happened to her." I squeezed her hand. "One day at a time, with people who actually love you by your side." She nodded slowly, then reached for her shattered phone. "I need to call Sarah. And Jamie. I need to make things right." "We will," I promised. "All of us." 3 months later, I stood in our kitchen watching Jamie and Chloe decorate cookies together. Christmas music played softly in the background, and the afternoon sun caught the silver charm bracelet on Chloe's wrist. A gift from Sarah Chun after their first counseling session together. "You're doing it wrong," Jamie giggled, reaching for the frosting bag. "The snowman needs a scarf." "Oh, really?" Chloe dabbed icing on his nose. "And I suppose you're the cookie decorating expert?" Their laughter filled the kitchen, healing old wounds I'd thought would never close. On the refrigerator, Chloe's latest therapy assignment hung proudly. A letter to her younger self, talking about forgiveness and second chances. Beside it was a crayon drawing from Jamie, his whole family, including his big sister, holding hands under a rainbow. Doris appeared in the doorway, carrying a casserole dish. This time she knocked. "I thought you might need help with dinner," she said softly. Then, noticing the cookies, "Oh, those look lovely, Chloe." Chloe tensed slightly, but managed a small smile. "Thanks, Grandma. Want to help?" The surprise on Doris's face was worth everything. As she joined them at the counter, I slipped outside to the back porch where Ethan was grilling. "Everything okay?" he asked, pulling me close. "Better than okay." I watched through the window as 3 generations of Quinns decorated cookies together. Though we got another letter from Rebecca today. His jaw tightened. What does she want now? The same thing, forgiveness, visitation rights. I shook my head. Chloe threw it away without opening it. Her choice. Completely. I smiled. She said she's learned the difference between people who love you and people who say they love you. Inside, Jamie's squeal of delight drew our attention. Chloe had lifted him onto the counter, so he could reach the sprinkles better. Doris steadied him, her usual criticism replaced with genuine warmth. "You know what Chloe told me yesterday?" I said quietly. "She's thinking about starting a support group at school for kids dealing with family trauma. Said sometimes the best way to heal is to help others heal too." Ethan squeezed my hand, and I leaned into him, remembering that rainy night at the train station. How close we'd come to losing everything. The back door opened, and Chloe stuck her head out. "Hey, we saved you guys some cookies to decorate. But hurry up before Jamie eats all the good frosting colors." "Coming, sweetheart," Ethan called. As we headed inside, I caught a glimpse of something new on the refrigerator. A college brochure for social work, dog-eared and highlighted. Next to Jamie's rainbow family drawing, it looked like hope.